This is Beyond the System, a podcast created by Charitable in Norfolk. We co-designed this podcast with Norwich Theatre and the Norfolk County Council Social Care Participation Team. We participate in a series of workshops to explore our individual creativity and to prepare us to share this part of our story that we hope will make a difference and make others feel less lonely. Each episode starts with a creative piece and then a conversation on the topic.
This episode is Overcoming Through Creativity. We are joined by SG and Alex.
Okay, everyone, this introduction's done now. Let's get going.
Little room, blue walls, painted like a beach with gaudy chairs and gaudy people, cutouts where faces should be and swimwear out of date. I used to live on the beach. I've been asked to pick up every grain of sand here at once, not put them in a bucket, not sweep them somewhere else, pick them all up, at once. At once. Hurry up then. Right. I stretch out the I and take a breath, and then another breath. I used to live on the beach, and I'd dream of living in a room like this, I guess. I had to pick up the sand there too. I knew I had to, even if nobody was telling me back then. Somehow it felt easier. I don't know whether it was the fact that no one was watching, or whether it was that I knew it was impossible. Maybe I should ask somebody for help. I'm sure I'll figure it out. I think that, especially with using art to get across a lived experience, it's for me, I think that with a lot of the art I do, it always has something to do with things that I've been through, whether they're good or bad. And I think especially for, people who might be care experienced or, young people who for any reason haven't been listened to, being able to just creatively get through a lived experience, even if it doesn't make any sense to anyone, even if it's something that people might not see as art, drawings, writings, anything like that. It's a way, sometimes it can feel more special to create something and have it mean something deeply personal to you about your experiences. And then being able to explain to someone why, but they can't, with a lot of art, well, with most art, it can't be, people can have their own interpretations of it, but it can't be argued what you felt when you were making it. That's something that, no matter what people's interpretations are, it retains something deeply personal and so kind of vulnerable as well. But I think other people having their own interpretations as well means that if you don't want to explain it, it can remain something that's vulnerable and private, but it can still have that same impact of getting it out to the world. If you're not able to talk about it explicitly or to, write to someone about it explicitly, I think it's just an amazing way to get through that lived experience. I know for me, there's a lot of things I've gotten through by just making, I say music, they're more kind of soundscapes. And while I don't make them especially public, it is, there's been really high points and really low points in my life that I've put into this kind of music that I make. And yeah, it's just, really cathartic, very cathartic. Well, for me, the sort of picking up of sand was a metaphor for kind of my sort of natural behaviour as a person. And obviously that's influenced by how you're brought up and where you've lived and all of that. And for me, it was sort of because obviously it is an impossible thing to pick up sand in general. And having to do it kind of either in front of people or in a vast expanse, it was kind of the pressure to behave in the correct way but also not knowing what the correct way was to behave based on everyone else or based on myself. And just knowing that it's kind of an impossible task when you don't know sort of who you are or who you're expected to be. And it doesn't really help having to do it alone or having to do it with people, but at least when you feel alone, there's no one kind of watching what you do, watching who you are. That's the best way I can explain it.
Then listening to it, 2 words automatically came to mind: expectation and responsibility. The line about doing it even when someone's not looking, it comes into that expectation reality thing. Like, responsibility thing is like, you guys so used to doing this because that's what everybody expects you to do, that even when they're not there, you just, it comes naturally now. You just do it without even thinking about it. That was just what run through my mind when you finish reading that out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you've put my point better than I did. But no, yeah.
I think for me, regarding with whatever I've been through in terms of care experience or just in general in life, I write. That's sort of my form of art. I write a lot stories. I write, mostly they're stories, short stories, long stories. I find it a bit freeing to just put things on paper and let them go. Like, it's nice to talk to people, but something you just don't want anyone to know. So you put it on paper. And for me, it's about, I don't know, seeing it in a physical format, if that makes sense. Like seeing those words and reading them back to yourself. And then just letting it go. You don't really think about it afterwards. There is one specific thing that I do that's quite helpful in terms of when I have negative stuff I want to put on paper, because we all do. I write it and then I tear it to pieces and burn it. That sounds like, I'm destroying whatever I've just created, but in a way, it kind of helps. It's like I'm taking it away from myself and just letting it go and then destroying it. And it just, for some reason, I can't logically explain it, but it does help in a way. And that's a different form of art, to be fair. It was something that my foster carer started with me. We did plates. We wrote stuff down on plates and then we smashed them to pieces in the back garden. Safely, of course. And then after all the anger and everything was out, she was like, clean it up now. So it just, it was therapeutic because we got all the anger out, we got all the disappointment, we got all whatever negative feeling we were out. And the joy of just smashing something was quite nice. But then also afterwards you're like, you have to clean it up. So I don't know, it gets you in a different headspace of back to being normal. You're just cleaning something up. It's quite therapeutic. So I have a mixture of that and then just writing stuff down. I also sometimes like pull my own stories in different, like not first person, more like third person. It helps as well, not making it personal as well, just like putting different names, different characters, even change your gender in it as well. It works and it helps. So I think I'd like to see more opportunities in terms of like just art in general, like paintings or writing or all that kind of stuff. We do have some. We've had workshops where we've done stuff like designing Scoop magazine. That's been something that I've done in the past, which was quite creative. I designed the front page for that. And then we've had the pathway plans where, I wasn't involved in that session, but following up to that, it was quite something I was into. And we still have other things that we do. I would say in a way, having a space to talk about stuff is a form of art by itself. And we have a lot of that, like just having that space to just share things and just, even events where you give a speech about something. I've had to create speeches for our shows or just like, conference and stuff like that. And when you think about it, it is a form of art because you sit down, you work on a piece of work and then you share it and you're hoping for an impact, which is what we do with art. So we have got different opportunities, I'll say.
Yeah, I think I totally agree that being able to speak about things, because that's a form of self-expression and how you express yourself can be an art. I think that most of my creative experiences outside of kind of education and, obviously this more recently, I've kind of taken, they're ones that I've given myself. And I think that's fine for some people, but also, like, I think, it's very important to have, or to sort of get a space where in more, I guess, more traditional kind of creative things can be done, because obviously there's no wrong way to be creative, there's no wrong way to produce art. But I think sometimes when you tell people that, even if they might know that there's a lot of stuff that they could have internalized over their life, that they're no good at art, that they're no good at being creative. So I think sometimes just that push to say this is a creative space, you can be guided through if you need to be guided through, can help people to let go of some of that, like, oh, I'm terrible at this. And it sort of opens the doors to art in general, which is just, then opens the doors to so many other kind of therapeutic things, or like helpful things that people can do.
I think you need to stop. And one piece of advice when it comes to creativity is stop listening to what people think art is. I remember back in high school, my art teacher will say, Alex, do not mix those two colours together. They do not go together. It was just, it's the rule. You can't put contrast colour together. My art are all contrast. Like drawings are all colours that should not be mixed, because I was like, why not? There's no rule against it. It might look a bit bright in your eyes, but I like it. It's my whole personal sort of taste and stuff. So I think it's about stop listening to what people think art is, and actually just following what you actually enjoy. And if it makes you happy and it heals you in some way, then you should absolutely do it.
I think I would say, like, the more you create, the easier it feels. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be happy with what you're doing immediately. Or it might mean that you are happy with what you're doing immediately, but the act of creating can feel really awkward and really weird, especially if you've not done it a lot or ever. But the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. And that sounds really vague, but it is just really true. Even if it's just doodling, even if it's like, drawing something on your phone or something like that, the more that you allow yourself to create, it will come naturally to you. We are creative. As, human beings in their own ways are creative. And so you have creativity inside you.
This podcast has been produced by care leavers in Norfolk, Norwich Theatre and Norfolk County Council. To find out more, please head to the Take Part pages on the Norwich Theatre website.